Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. Nothing is ever what it seems in Washington. There is always another angle, another motive, another layer beneath the official story, and that's exactly why I don't believe the so-called deep state acted alone when the CIA apparently seized those documents from the office of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. This is getting a lot of attention online. I believe the Central Intelligence Agency did it with approval from the White House and most likely the president himself. It is why Tulsi Gabbard is making it clear today it wasn't a, quote, raid, as was reported by so many conservative outlets. But it isn't that simple. I believe this CIA whistleblower wasn't whistleblowing when he dropped this. He was following orders. Remember, this guy is a CIA agent.
When the dig ceased operations, the CIA also took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MK Ultra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard.
The DIGS is the Director's Intelligence Group, the initiative set up by the president to tell Tulsi Gabbard to go find all this stuff. It's been since disbanded, by the way. And as comfortable as all of that may be, the CIA, I suspect, even the president, believed they had a very good reason to seize those documents from Tulsi Gabbard. Think about this. President Trump and CIA Director John Ratcliffe are very, very close. There is no way John Ratcliffe's CIA defies an executive order, the one to release the documents about MK Ultra and JFK files, those secret programs. They'd never release it without Trump's approval. Sadly, many in the MAGA base will never accept that some things need to be left classified and top secret. Not all things, but some things. And before people lose their minds over that statement, you need to realize what intelligence agencies do. Their entire mission revolves around deception, psychological warfare, manipulation, infiltration, strategic secrecy, psyops. They're very real, by the way. Information warfare is real. Governments across the world engage in it every day. America has to compete on that harsh reality. Now, if documents tied to MK Ultra revealed operational methods, behavioral manipulation tactics, or intelligence capabilities that still provide the United States tactical advantages against our enemies today, well, then there are people in Washington who would absolutely conclude those records can never see daylight, including the president. It's easy to blame the document seizure on, quote, a deep state raid, when in reality, people we trust are simply saying, hold on. Now, let me be clear. PSYOPs against our enemies are fine. But against innocent American people, those PSYOPs are totally unacceptable. So here's what I propose. Expose the lie, not the technique that gives us an advantage over our enemies. A technique that I believe is what the CIA convinced the president of. Say, these techniques we have. So they convinced the president, and I don't blame the president for seeing the validity of that argument that those techniques need to be protected. So when Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna declared this, hyperventilating almost about this, my warning is she better tread lightly.
If this person, and this is not a threat, this is going to happen, if those files are not returned within the next 24 hours, you will be called, your faces will be made public in front of the entire American people. All of Congress will see it, and we will hold you accountable for going against a direct executive order by the president and interfering with a congressional investigation. So return the files, do not destroy documents. You will get a preservation of documents notice for Congress, and any member of the CIA that engages in undermining this investigation will be held criminally accountable.
Not so fast. Now, I have great respect for Anna Paulina Luna. We need her voice in Congress, and she's fabulous. But she's not thinking strategically here, okay? This is why Anna Paulina Luna this morning started walking this all back very slightly. Now, I believe she probably got scolded by the very White House she thought she was fighting for. She got scolded because she wasn't thinking strategically. She really thinks that rogue CIA agents just seized documents from the Director of National Intelligence without Director Ratcliffe or President Trump's approval? Come on. Trump has a plan here. And again, I may not always like the plan. Sometimes I don't see the plan. But in the end, here's what I know. President Trump is always right. Always. So Anna Paulina Luna better be careful she doesn't get MTG'd or Massied, because Trump can end a political career in a second, which is why I think she's walking back some of this. So again, my belief is this wasn't the deep state defying Trump's executive order. It was Trump's CIA protecting secrets they convinced Trump needed to be protected. Well, here with me now is 30-year career Army intelligence officer and senior collection strategist on domestic terrorism, who for the DNI, Thomas Speciale is back with us. Thomas, it's great to have you on the program.
It's good to be back, and this is an important conversation, Graham.
What do you think of my assessment here, Thomas?
I think you're about 99% correct. The only thing that I think there's a nuance here, and that is that there's sort of two parts to it. The dig was, for all intents and purposes, disbanded, but my understanding is that the mission of the dig has been transitioned to the IG, to the lawyers, because they have actual authority to do the investigative work that would be necessary to get at weaponization, get at this issue, right? Whereas the dig didn't really have a lot of teeth.
All right, let me just say this. I want to review again, because dig gets thrown around a lot. Again, Directors Initiative Group set up by President Trump to investigate all this stuff through Tulsi Gabbard's office. That virtually disbanded. And the IG is the Inspector General, an investigative organization inside the federal government. Continue, Thomas. I just want to make that clear for people at home.
Yeah, no. And so because it's sort of transitioned into probably the correct office, my understanding is that CIA, there were some documents that were sort of, it's almost like a chain of custody issue. If the dig is not there in direct possession of these documents, they would be taken back to the CIA. That doesn't mean that the ODNI does not have access to those documents. And I think that's what Tulsi's recently come out and said, is like, this is normal practice for the handling of classified information. This isn't a raid. It's not anything like that at all. This was all done with approval.
I agree on that. But here's where I think plausible deniability comes in. I think they're realizing there are some documents here that cannot be released. Even going back to MK Ultra, that there are some techniques in here that they probably went to the president and Ratcliffe says, hey, we got to walk this back. This CIA agent whistleblower, and I certainly applaud him for coming forward on Fauci and all this. I'm not sure it wasn't by design, him dropping that little tidbit to give plausible deniability. Instead, everything just kind of goes away. And you know what? Some things that need to be kept secret are kept secret.
Yeah, I'm not even so sure that the Jim was actually considered a whistleblower. I think more than likely this subpoena, he was subpoenaed to go to Congress to deliver this stuff about COVID, to raise the awareness of what's going on with the COVID investigation. This throwaway comment that, talking about 40 boxes of info, was taken back possession by the CIA. I think this is being blown out of proportion. I think, to your point about protecting sources and methods, I'm not even sure at this point, Grant, that that's actually what's going on. I think it's actually something a little bit more simple than that. And that is that the CIA has to protect some of this really classified processes and procedures that went on years ago. And if they're not actively being utilized to do something that is constructive for the American people, then the proper place for them is back with the CIA. So it just is really like a records transfer. Director Gabbard has access to all this information, and she will if she needs it.
All right, here's what's so hard for the people, hard for me, is that I know there are some good people inside the CIA and FBI who really believe in fighting for the American people. And I think there are some really bad actors inside the FBI and the CIA. The challenge now is to root everybody out. And everybody in Washington's jockeying for power. How does Ratcliffe figure out who he can trust in the CIA, or Kash Patel in the FBI, or even President Trump? And this is where it gets really messy. And I don't know if we ever figure it out, Thomas.
Yeah, I think that, and this is really what I hit on considerably with regard to the counterintelligence enterprise and FBI doing things domestically that were considered unconstitutional. You have sort of the same sort of an atmosphere in the CIA where they have a responsibility, and I believe Director Ratcliffe as well as Director Patel have the responsibility of protecting the reputation of these organizations against some information that would be damaging to the overall reputation of the organization. If it's not criminal, then there's no real reason for it to be revealed. And I think that part of the problem is that we know, for example, that there was a lot of criminal behavior on the part of the FBI regarding the J6 investigations and all these things. And so that has, and the CIA, and to a great extent, I believe, was culpable in a lot of those things. And so because there's been so much trust lost with the organizations, that trust gap that we have with these organizations now people are sort of assuming nefarious intent with every single thing that they do. And that is not necessarily the case. But here, let me just finish. Let's land with this because I think it's very important. And I think the Trump administration has to get some accountability. Brennan just came out and admitted that there are people within the organizations that have basically dug in their heels and that they're protecting the previous administration's activities. Those people have to be rooted out. If there was unconstitutional criminal activity, if there is not an accountability, then Trump is going to lose the constitutional supporters. And I know that he doesn't want to do that, but he has to do that.
Of course, I think all of us, I certainly know Stinchfield's Army wants bad actors rooted out. This idea of the deep state, I actually said, I don't know if the deep state actually has one single sole head. You know, you could say Obama. I think I've described it as a flock of birds, that fly very closely. They all know where the other one's going, and they almost operate as one unit. And that's how I look at the deep state in every agency. Somehow they know exactly what the other one's doing, where to go, what their mission is, and it's not in the best interest of the American people. That's what needs to be stopped. Thomas Speciale, I appreciate you coming on, as always. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. It's fascinating conversation. Who would have ever thought we'd get to this point? And again, people want to jump on, it's got to be the deep state seizing these documents. It's not what it was here. All right, now to one of the most important state visits President Trump probably will make in his career as president, both terms, and that is going to China. Only President Trump can go into a hostile territory, and make no mistake, China is hostile, and do it with a smile, walk away with deals, and leave with America in a better spot. This is President Trump today.
But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, let me say this. The respect is mutual. Now, they both know that each other is sly and strong as a fox. They're both looking out of the eyes in the back of the head and the side of the head and everywhere watching each other. But Xi Jinping respects Trump too, otherwise he wouldn't have said this.
The people of China and the United States are both great peoples. Achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and making America great again can go hand in hand. We can help each other succeed and advance the well-being of the whole world.
Make America great again. And what a way to cozy up next to the President of the United States. It's his term. That's by design, by the way. So you can't trust China. But when it comes to business deals, for the most part, you can. If they're going to say they're going to buy 200 Boeing aircraft, they will. They say they're going to buy 100 GE engines. They'll buy them. It's the other stuff you can't trust them on. This is Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary.
We talked about purchases. We talked about some issues that the Chinese side had, and we're going to talk about forming a board of trade for the bilateral trade between the U.S. and China, and we're going to talk about a board of investment that will be responsible for investment in non-sensitive areas.
This is a group of Americans and Chinese working on trade because the two countries, we need each other. I mean, I'd rather have China much more reliant on us than us on China, but this is a step in the right direction. Now, President Trump did say this. He's got a second date planned for Xi Jinping to come to the White House. That's very big. Here's President Trump with Sean Hannity.
What does he want from the U.S.?
A lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. Too many things to discuss, but a lot of things. We had a very good meeting, but we want things from them. One thing he agreed to today is going to order 200 jets. That's a big thing. Boeing.
Don't take President Trump's demeanor as some kind of negative. The man's got to be exhausted, quite frankly, after flying over there. I want to bring in now to discuss all this senior investigative reporter for the Epoch Times. My buddy Joshua Phillip is back. Joshua, great to have you on.
Hey, good to see you, Grant.
All right, Joshua, nobody knows China like you do, but what do we take away from this meeting?
Well, it seems the biggest discussions probably happened behind closed doors, and it was a bit tense. Reports that Marco Rubio probably called out the CCP about Taiwan in talks of World War III. There was some coded language. Xi Jinping invoked the Thucydides trap, which for anybody who watches the CCP knows what that means. The CCP has for a long time believed in a narrative of rising powers and declining powers. They believed for a long time, effectively, the United States was the declining power, China was the rising power. You're talking about, of course, Athens and Spartan wars, the Thucydides trap. And saying basically that it's China's time to rise. They also set forward different types of requirements where Trump could not cross the line or even invoke. That did include Taiwan, which Trump seemed to have talked about anyway. That included, for example, the Chinese Communist Party system, the future of the CCP and the agendas of the CCP. And they were also not allowed to talk about human rights. So it seems like it's a bit of a frenemies approach. They came off some trade deals. I think the key word with this is non-sensitive trade. They're looking at that, and that's going to be a bit of more of a narrow focus, I believe.
So it's interesting about Taiwan because China's official record of this was that they talked about Taiwan and that China told the United States to be very careful about this. And really, in the United States' official record, there wasn't much talk about Taiwan at all, almost as if they never talked about it. But clearly they did, Joshua.
It seems they did. And Marco Rubio was probably one of the sharper ones on that. In quick history of that, too, Marco Rubio is actually blacklisted by the CCP. He's technically not allowed to travel there. And that was also why he wore the same jumpsuit that Maduro wore when he got abducted, from Venezuela, when he went on that trip recently. And so, of course, Marco Rubio, the way the CCP handled this is they kind of finagled his name to make his name written differently. So they didn't technically have to write an exception for him. But yeah, Taiwan is a sensitive issue. The U.S. is also not fully promised they're going to defend Taiwan. It's always a real gray area.
All right, what do you make of this situation with Iran? Let me play this clip from President Trump, cut 21 for the guys behind the glass, talking about what they said about Iran.
I mean, when you say support, they're not fighting a war with us or anything.
No.
He said he's not going to give military equipment. That's a big statement. He said that today. That's a big statement. He said that strongly.
What do you make of that, Joshua?
Okay, I have two sides on this. On one side, it's true. The CCP supplies a lot of the advanced weapons to a lot of countries. Iran, of course, the missile defense systems. the hypersonic missiles, a lot of, again, the advanced stuff. It's actually not very well known, but a lot of the small arms come from North Korea. You're talking the kind of guns that your troops on the ground would be carrying. A lot of that's North Korean. But the advanced stuff is Chinese, whether it was, again, Iran or Venezuela or a lot of other countries. The kind of dual nature of this is that the CCP just got a huge slap in the face because they were selling these armaments to Iran, Venezuela, and we saw them fail. The Chinese air defense systems were not able to actually detect and intercept even a single U.S. plane, for example. So, them saying they're going to back off arms sales maybe doesn't carry as much weight because they've also been shown that their stuff doesn't work. And again, it was a big slap in the face for the CCP.
I made the prediction yesterday that I didn't think Trump and his team would hammer over many of these sensitive issues because in the end, you're not going to get China to agree to them. So why bother bringing them up? I mean, in a situation like this where you're trying to make trade deals, you're trying to keep the peace, he's got Iran on one side, you're not going to go in there and hammer them over human rights violations and giving weapons to Iran when you know they're not going to change. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the real threat of the CCP with negotiations like this is more so that they will actually agree to things that they're not going to follow. So they might, roll out the red carpet. They'll praise you. They'll give you everything on a silver platter. And as soon as they sign a deal, they just violate it. China right now, they're hurting really bad economically. In terms of global power, they're kind of on the retreat. A lot of their agendas are kind of not doing so hot right now, especially when it came to trying to stir up conflicts. Ideologically, they're on the retreat. We just saw one of the guys running the secret Chinese police stations could just get found guilty in New York the other day. We saw a Chinese spy mayor in Arcadia, California, just plead guilty, took the plea deal. We've been watching, of course, the CCP getting bans on selling electric cars. Congress working on that right now, or selling cars here. Congress working on that right now. Different bans on Chinese purchases of land. Also Congress working on right now. So, they don't look good on the global stage. And they're also hurting a lot, not just from the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, which they get about 90% of their oil from Iran. They're also dealing with the fact that their economy is just in dire straits. Investors are pulling out, businesses are pulling out, manufacturing is leaving, and the CCP has even put in place exit bans on Western companies. So if you're a Western company there, you can't even leave the country right now without facing punishment.
Unbelievable.
They're desperate for a deal.
Maybe to bring this interview full circle, they think that the United States is a nation in decline. It sure sounds to me like China's the nation in decline. And maybe that's got them a little nervous about all of this. Joshua, Phillip, the Epoch Times, you guys do great work. Real quick, could you even go to China? What would happen to you? You do so much calling out the CCP. Would you be thrown into a Chinese prison instantly?
It would be a one-way ticket if I went there.
Unbelievable. Buddy, keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure having you on. So we'll see. I'm sure it's going to get tense. Look, they are our enemy. There's no doubt about it. But again, these are like, as Joshua said, frenemies. We need to keep them close. They need to keep us close. I'm glad we got President Trump in office. All right, folks, I've been telling you a lot about Lost Soldier Oil and Gas, this gas play in Wyoming's Bison Basin. Man, this thing is taking off. So many of our Real America's Voice viewers, Stinchfield's Army, are investing in this project. And I'll tell you, it makes a lot of sense. There's a play to invest in the company. You've got royalties and overriding royalties. You've got tax advantages in all of this. There's some ancillary real prospects to make some real money here related to possible data centers on the property. You may hit oil besides natural gas, a lot of this stuff. But here's what I want you to do. Ask these questions to the folks at Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. Just scan that QR code, fill out the form, tell them that I sent you, and one of their team members will call you right back. And it's a big-time team member, not just some random sales guy. And they will talk to you about all of these opportunities. I have never seen an oil and gas deal set up like this one. I'm excited about it. LostSoldier.com, that's LostSoldier.com. Scan that QR code and take a look at this very, very impressive project. All right, the D.C. Metropolitan Police have concluded that crime stat manipulation was rampant in their department. We will talk to a victim about that.
And now here's Chris Cunahan with the Leaf Filter Gutter Report and what changing weather conditions.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's Voice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Back, everyone. It amazes me the lengths Democrats will go to cover up their ineptitude, really to cover up their devious behavior. You know, in Washington, D.C., we know crime was out of control. You wouldn't really know it if you looked at the stats, because the stats were all manipulated. This is from a report detailing the crime data manipulation in D.C. Quote, commanders told the committee that they were not only pressured, but also instructed to lower crime classifications to lesser intermediate offenses in such a way that those offenses would not be included in the DCR reported to the public, basically the data. Now, what's an example of this? Take a look at this graphic. They would take a shooting and reclassify it to injured person to the hospital. Robbery would be bumped down to theft. Now, remember, a robbery is holding someone up with a knife or a gun or threat of force against them. Assaults with a dangerous weapon, they'd bump it down to simple assault. All of it's bogus, as Jeanine Pirro said on Fox News.
Let me tell you, accurate crime reporting is non-negotiable. Why? It involves the allocation of resources. It involves making sure that victims are protected to the full extent of the law. And it is essential that people feel comfortable where, you know, they live a reality that unfortunately is different from what the crime statistics are saying.
All right, now I want you to picture this. You're a crime and public safety reporter in D.C. You're award-winning, and you end up getting sexually assaulted on the streets of D.C. by a stranger in broad daylight. And when you go to investigate your own crime, you find out it's not even listed in the crime statistics, just like we've been calling out there. Well, I want to bring in now the very woman I'm talking about, Washington Examiner Homeland Security correspondent and author of Under Assault. Anna Giratelli is with us. Anna, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, Anna, why don't you tell me your story of how you discovered this? And I can only imagine what that must have been like.
I was assaulted in 2020 near Capitol Hill, very close to the U.S. Capitol, actually. And after my assault, police arrested the man who attacked me. And the next day, I received a phone call from police saying he's been released from jail. And that shocked me. And in the year and a half it took before we went to our case proceeded, he was arrested 5 more times and released from jail all 5 times the following day. And he was only held when we were finally ready to move forward for trial. It took about 2 years. And in this process, the police stats were put on the map the following month. And I was doing a story on crime in DC during COVID. If it had gone down, some crimes had gone up, that sort of thing. And I thought, I'm going to look and see if my stat is here. And at the time, they used to classify stats by pins on the map, very specific, so you could actually see the exact crime. And I didn't see it where I was assaulted. And so I looked at my home address across the street. I looked at my old address, and I couldn't find it. And so I contacted the police and said, I'm a journalist, but I'm also a victim. And my stat isn't on the map. I think you forgot to put me on it. And they told me, ma'am, only first-degree felonies go on the map, and you were not a first-degree sex abuse, so you are not counted. And I thought, not only is this not counted for me, right? It's the bigger picture. How many people have not been counted? And the 5 subsequent arrests that police responded to, all incidents. He was sentenced for all 6 offenses, not counted. And so that began my own investigation deeper into this. But what a cover-up. What a crony cover-up by DC police.
Was he charged, Anna, with a felony for assaulting you?
He was charged with a felony. He was charged with sex abuse in the 3rd degree. And
so, if it's a felony, then how is it? I mean, like literally, they just decided to make it something else that it wasn't, correct?
They just decided that only first-degree felonies are going to count on the crime map. So last August, I came out in an op-ed and shared what had happened to me. I said, a man went to prison for what he did to me, and it's not in the DC crime stats. And at the time, I looked at crime stats for sex abuse crime incidents over the past year, and the DC map showed only 53. And that would be first-degree sex abuse charges. And so there's going to be far more second, third-degree sex abuse charges than first-degree. It paints such a cozy picture of DC compared to what's actually going on. And if you look at the website, it's buried way down below in legalese that you can't understand. I actually wrote them back and said, listen, I'm a journalist. I cover this. I don't even understand this. Can you explain this to me? What is being counted now?
All right. I have a couple serious questions. First off, to wrap up the DC issue, do you think it's corrected now?
No, it's totally not corrected now. Actually, they've gone further to disguise the stats. So my cover-up is separate from what the DC Police Union and attorney Janine Pirro have been able to expose and fix. Mine is just flat out, we're not including second and third degree felonies on the crime stats. So that's a whole other issue. But they have been able, what they do now is they don't put pins on the map for every crime incident. They color code neighborhoods. So if you're a darker shade, there's more crime. But you can't actually, so if I was assaulted yesterday, I wouldn't be able to look at the crime stats now and know, here's my incident. I would say, well, there were 5 to 10 in this area. I guess I'm one of them. But you actually don't know if you are.
All right, last question. I would imagine there are blue cities around the country doing this very thing. Is there any effort underway to root that out in other cities across the country?
There is an effort. I started, 10 days ago. Actually, I'm sorry, it was 7 days ago, 1 week. I started a change.org petition, and we've got 12,000 people have signed on in the past week. The National Police Association has endorsed our petition, which is huge. And we need every single person who cares about crime, every single viewer to help me. This isn't just about covering up crime in DC. This is about, hey, it's Police Week. Why isn't the work that police officers do being counted? What about victims like myself that go through hell and aren't counted? And you can go to change.org/CrimeStackCoverup and sign on. It was one of the easiest accounts to create, took less than 2 minutes. And that would mean the world to us.
And I want everybody, Stinchfield's Army, rally together, go to that website, sign the petition. It's such an important issue. Anna, I'm so glad you're doing okay. This is great work that you've done. Keep us posted on it.
Thank you so much for telling my story.
Absolutely. Thank you for telling it. All right, folks, Christianity is slowly becoming outlawed in the United Kingdom. We talked to someone who's building a project that is literally going to stick it to them on this. This is great. But first, if you haven't yet, you need to download Real America Music's latest release, Every Star, Every Stripe, by Rav host Don Newen. Check it out.
From Real America's music artist Newen comes a powerful new anthem honoring the men and women who gave everything for this country. Every Star, Every Stripe from Cowboy Logic.
Here's to the fallen, they stood in the gap.
With unforgettable lyrics honoring Valley Forge, Iwo Jima, Arlington, and generations of brave Americans, this is more than a song. It's a reminder of who we are. Download Every Star, Every Stripe right now. Just scan the QR code or search for it on iTunes. Family, let's run it up the charts like only you can do.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's Voice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
Welcome back, everyone. I do not recognize England anymore. It is not a Christian nation. I believe it's a Muslim nation now, and that is a sad reality. Look what's happening to preachers on the streets in Great Britain.
You exchanged the Bible for a bear, and today the preachers of God's word are being arrested for alleged hate crime. We've come out here because we love you. So Christ in his love died on the cross to save you.
Is getting arrested, a preacher, for preaching. Unbelievable, really. Now, there is a project underway, and I met the man responsible for coming up with this idea. The Wall of Eternal Prayer, 1 million bricks, stories of literally Jesus answering prayers in every brick. Roll the promo for it.
Every single brick in this construction will represent a story of hope. A story where someone has prayed to Jesus and he has answered.
People will be able to discover these stories just by pointing their phone up against a brick, and their phone will light up and tell them the story of hope that that brick represents.
Now, it's cool no matter what country it's in. But this is in the heart of a nation that has turned its back on Christianity. This is really a big deal. And I want to bring in the founder of the Eternal Wall of Answered Prayer. Richard Gamble is with us live from England tonight. Richard, welcome to the program.
Hi, Grant. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, you gave such an inspiring speech. I said, I got to get this guy on when I saw you. This is stunning, though, because the authorities probably are not very happy with you. How did you manage to get this through?
By prayer, I think, is the simple answer. I mean, God spoke to me with this vision in 2004, and so it's taken 22 years, but it's been an incredible journey of when we've prayed and God has answered and given us all the favor we need with gifts of land and incredible government approval despite all the opposition that exists for Christianity in this country.
What do you make of your country, Richard? And I hate to even say this, but the direction it's headed.
I think there's two sides of the coin. You know, on the one hand, it's really grieving to see. It's illegal to pray silently within 1.5 miles of an abortion clinic. You know, it's shocking, some of the laws that have come in. On the other hand, despite this persecution, the church is growing massively, and the younger generation are turning to Jesus like never before. So maybe it needs to be tough to get that reaction.
Maybe it's because of the persecution, which is why the church is growing, and people see that they need to turn to Jesus and God. You have some support from people in high places. Did I hear you right? Is the King of England, the royal family, on board with this?
Well, we are. Yeah, we're in discussions with the royal household at the moment to open this. The structure is going to finish being built in 2028, and then we're working towards a royal opening in 29. And it's interesting, Grant, because you sort of these laws come in, but actually you get behind it, and there is a lot of sympathy for Christianity and support for it. It just seems really odd that the country has gone in the direction that it has. But what we're building here, 800,000 people are going to drive past it every week. And we believe tens of millions of people all over the world are going to find this eternal wall of answered prayer in the database of 1 million answered prayers that they can explore and hopefully be inspired to pray.
I think one of the remarkable stories of this is coming up with all of the answered prayers to include in this. And there was no shortage of them, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 137,000 so far. we're asking people from all over the world to send in their stories. And so I think at the moment we've got something like 156 countries. And the way that this is being built is every section of it will represent a geography from around the world. So, for example, if somebody comes to it and says, well, what stories, what prayers has God answered in Dallas? You'd be able to point your phone or go online and see all those stories come up. And we hope that that will inspire people all over the world that Jesus is still alive, he still listens to us, and he still answers.
He sure does. Richard Gamble, this is such an amazing project. I'm honored you were able to come on tonight. Really quickly, how can people help you? I know you're still raising money for this. Is there someplace people can go to help out in this cause?
Yeah, please go to eternalwall.org.uk. We've raised $47 million so far. We need another $10 million to just get over the finish line. But we have started building, and this is going to happen, and we're going to declare to our nation that Jesus is alive.
I love it. Richard Gamble, that's the kind of fight we love in people. And it was great to see you in America and in Texas. And I hope one day to come pay a visit to that wall once it's finished. Thank you, sir.
We'll get you an invite to the royal opening, eh?
I'll be there, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. That's the kind of stuff that's amazing, folks, and proud to profile on a program like this. All right, who's peddling the Hantavirus hysteria? Dr. Peter McCullough is up next, but first join us this Sunday for Rav's live coverage of Rededicate 250, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving. Our all-day broadcast begins at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. You won't want to miss it. Proudly sponsored by Patriot Mobile and Preborn.
People are being given 20 days to move their savings out of bank accounts.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
We're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's Voice.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
I'll tell you what, folks, I'm keeping a close eye on this Hantavirus. Call it the global elite. They want nothing more than this to turn into something huge so they can, I believe, bring the United States back into the World Health Organization. That's what they want. That's what I'm seeing right here. Oh, you can't leave us at a time like this. Give us our $550 million back. Trump's not going to do it. But listen to the director of the WHO.
So because of the interaction while they were still in the ship, especially before they started taking some infectious prevention measures, because of the interaction, we would expect more cases.
Well, it doesn't actually make any sense because it doesn't really spread human to human. So why would you see more cases unless it's being spread through the vents because of rat droppings in the bowels of the ship? I want to bring in now world-renowned doctor and chief scientific officer at the Wellness Company. My friend, Dr. Peter McCullough, is back. Doc, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, Doc, none of this really makes sense on the Hantavirus. Does it spread human to human? Should we be worried about this?
No. In fact, the source of the infection was the ship, Grant. Once people got off the ship, if they were well when they got off, they've remained well. This is an incredible story. It turns out that some rodents were probably on the ship. John Leake, investigative author for the McCullough Foundation, just testified in the European Parliament 2 days ago that suspiciously the rodent control log is either missing or it's being concealed because they found some evidence of rodents. Now, there is a claim that this passes person to person, but the virus has never been found in the nose or mouth of human beings sneezing on one another. You can find it in oral secretions in moribund patients in the ICU. To make matters worse, there were dead corpses on this ship. I counted the days, Grant. Dead corpses were on this ship for 22 days. So I think probably rodent spread and dead corpses was the source of the infection. Again, once people are off the ship, they appear to be fine.
Yeah, and they lock people in their rooms, which then, to me, you got all the air going right into the room, and most of these rooms are inside with no windows.
It was horrible. In fact, the lady who got off on May 10th and was sick from France, she's now in an ICU in France on a ventilator, on ECMO, the highest level of support. That one's on the WHO. They should have, when they knew what was going on May 2nd in Cape Verde, they should have completely evacuated the ship and then spent about a week decontaminated. Everybody should have been airlifted to safety. Instead, they locked it down and they caused more disease and panic.
Wow. All right, one thing that we talk a lot about is being prepared. So who knows what the next thing to pop up, but you guys over at the Wellness Company have a contagion kit. Can you tell me what's in it and why it's a good idea for families to have this contagion kit?
Boy, people wish they had this on the ship, Grant. It would have been a game changer. Turns out the contagion kit has hydroxychloroquine, which has some activity against hantavirus, ivermectin, steroids, both inhaled and oral, which can be used. And then, importantly, we recommend a nasal spray, throat spray, and additionally a gargle. No one should get on a cruise boat. Grant, there's a 1,700 passenger British ship that's locked down right now because someone died of rotavirus. So they won't let people get off. So listen, if you're stuck on a cruise boat and you're locked down, make sure you have a medical emergency kit.
All right, so this is good advice, and I didn't even really think about this. If you're going on a cruise, get one of these, and it would be the contagion kit that you want to take with you, maybe, or the travel kit, because that's got some motion sickness stuff in it too. But get one of these kits before you go on a cruise.
Right, Grant. I know you're a prepper. You would take the field kit. They allow big luggages to go on. I think I take the field kit. There's too much going on these ships right now, Grant. You have to play it safe. There you go. No one should get on a ship without one of these kits because something's going to come up. And nowadays, with the WHO's new global authority, they're going to lock people down on their ship.
Let me tell you something. There's the guidebook in here to help you with stuff. And there's even the EpiPen, which is so helpful. I tell anybody, if you have kids playing at your house, they get stung by a bee, having one of those EpiPens could save a life. This kit is, quite frankly, badass, and I'm glad I have it. Dr. McCullough, I'm going to tell people where they can find it and get one of these, and that's me closing it up. twc.health/voice. That's where you can find a full line of their products, from the Contagion Kit to the Yes Badass Field Kit. Ivermectin, mebendazole, as you heard, steroids in there, both inhaled and orally. twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE to save 10%. All right, Senator John Kennedy grills Chuck Schumer. That's next.
Half protection is not enough.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
When it's breaking,
We're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Hey, stand up!
This world changes with every headline, every trend, every opinion, but truth doesn't move. The Truth Bombers are dropping a new anthem for everyone still standing firm. Faith over fear, conviction over compromise. Bible and a Backbone, a bold new release through Real America's Music. Pre-save it now. Scan the QR code or search Bible and a Backbone by the Truth Bombers on iTunes. Stand tall, hold strong. Bible and a Backbone, coming soon.
I don't bend for every breeze. I don't drop down to my knees for opinions that don't stand.
So Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, he's got all the one-liners. You want to know what he thinks about Chucky Schumer?
The leadership there is a strain of crazy that can't be fixed. If you give them a bomb, they will use it. I know my colleagues like Senator Schumer says they're not a problem, but frankly, Senator Schumer can't even cook a cheeseburger.
No, he can't. Do you remember that? The photo of Chucky Schumer putting cheese on a raw burger as if there's going to be any cheese left by the time that burger is cooked. Leave it to John Kennedy to come up with some doozies. First, when he said there's a form of crazy, I didn't know he was talking about Iran. I thought he was talking about Democrat leadership. Goes both ways. Iran, Democrat leadership, it's the same freaking thing, isn't it? Stinchfield's Army rolls. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you back here tomorrow, same time. God bless you, everybody. Thanks for watching.